everyone, it's Mina Marzano here at Medicare Insiders. Thanks for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be going over some frequently asked questions regarding the new CMS call recording regulation, so stay tuned for more. So if you're an insurance agent offering the Medicare product, you more than likely have already heard of CMS new regulation that came out earlier this year stating that October 1st we would have to record our calls if they were done telephonically. There's been a lot of confusion, there's been a lot of doubts, and a lot of misinformation kind of circling around. Some information that has kind of evolved and continues to evolve as the time moves forward. So this video's purpose is to go over some of those frequently asked questions. I have a list of questions here that I've gotten from agents that I would like to clarify and hopefully provide a little bit more guidance when it comes to what's required of us moving into AEP. So the very first question is, what calls need to be recorded? So the final rule from CMS states that all calls need to be recorded. So that is introductory calls, enrollment calls, calls where you're discussing benefits, and post-enrollment calls. So if your client's calling you to change their primary care doctor, they want that recorded as well. So in some previous guidances that have been put out, that information has differed a little bit, and maybe some calls needed to be recorded and some didn't need to be recorded. Well, it's pretty clear now that what they want and expect from us is that all calls are recorded moving forward. And as I said before, that communication is ever changing, so we will keep you guys updated with the latest news, but as of now, that is what the requirements are. The next question is, how long do the calls need to be stored? 10 years. Are Zoom and WebEx or the like included? Yes, so anything that's telephonic, Zoom, WebEx, Google Meets, Teams, anything that you do through an online platform where you're on the phone and you're not face-to-face has to be recorded. And that goes into the next question, does face-to-face need to be recorded? No. So if you are doing a face-to-face appointment with a client, you don't need to record that. But if you have any post-enrollment calls where you're answering any questions or talking about any, plan benefits or changing a primary care doctor, helping them get an appointment, anything of that nature does need to be recorded. The next question is do I need to ask clients permission to record them? Yes, you do. And the next one is, what happens if they don't want to be recorded? Well, you have to hang up that call. So if the client says, I don't want to be recorded, you have to hang up that call. And at that point, you have two options, one of them being schedule a face-to-face, and the second one being send them a personalized URL so they can self-enroll. And if you have any questions on how you can obtain a personalized URL, reach out to me and I'd be happy to get you set up with that. The next question is, if the client enrolls in Medicare supplements, do we have to record? So for this one, technically this rule only applies to Medicare Advantage and prescription drug plans. But I would recommend, if you're a Medicare agent offering all the products, record all of your calls. So technically it doesn't apply to Medicare supplements, but you don't know what kind of coverage that client is going to opt into. So while you're having that conversation, that initial introductory call, and you're doing a needs analysis, you don't know yet what they're going to choose, I would record that call. And most of the time, if they're on a Medicare supplement, they'll need a prescription drug plan to go along with that, and that will need to be recorded. So my advice here would be record all of your calls with your Medicare beneficiaries. Any calls having to do with anything Medicare, record them to be proactive. When and why might call recordings be requested? So really, carriers could request them at any time, which is why it's important to record them and to have them stored for those 10 years. And the purpose of this is obviously compliance, right? Oversight departments wanting to make sure that we are doing everything by the book. So submission guidelines could differ by carrier as well. Keep that in mind. My recommendation is stay on top of your carrier communications regarding this to make sure that you're in the know with all of the carriers that you are representing. Do I have to state the disclaimer on every call? So the disclaimer does need to be stated on every sales call, and what qualifies as a sales call is anything that's going to lead to an enrollment, anything that requires a scope of appointment where you're going over benefits. That needs to be, disclaimer needs to be included at the beginning of that call, in the first 60 seconds of that call. And the disclaimer reads, we do not offer every plan available in your area. Any information we provide is limited to those plans we do offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all your options. So, if you legitimately offer every plan that is in your client's service area, you don't have to state this disclaimer. However, keep in mind that sometimes there are plans that are captive only and you can't represent as an independent broker. So if you don't represent every plan, you will have to state this disclaimer on those sales calls. When do I have to state the disclaimer? So within the first minute of the conversation. Some of the platforms that are available now that are making this option available to do the call recordings offer that disclaimer at the very beginning so that you don't forget. So that's useful. And the very last question that I have here is, does the disclaimer need to be on any marketing material? And the answer is yes, on all your marketing material. And if you have a website, this disclaimer needs to be on your website as well. So hopefully this was useful in clearing up some of your questions and concerns when it comes to this rule. If you have any other doubts or questions, please leave them below. Let me know. I would be more than happy to create a part 2 if we want to go in a little bit deeper. I do think this is really the bulk of the questions that agents have been having when it comes to this new compliance guideline. So as always, like, share, subscribe, comment. Go to our Facebook group, Medicare Insiders, if you want to become an insider. We'll be having more discussions there on this topic. And other than that, I hope this was useful to everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.